Hey, welcome to Scry-fi. We're talking about episode 8 of Ahsoka, the final episode of this season, unfortunately.
Yes.
But major spoilers, if you haven't seen all of this, we're going to talk about all of it, right? So, yeah, go watch that first. But yeah, so we talked about last episode, like, how are they going to tie all this stuff up? And of course they didn't. They left a lot of it open, which is...
They very much are betting on a season 2, and I hear that it's already started. In fact,
well, they changed it from season finale. It was series finale to season finale over the last week and a half or whenever it was.
Oh, that's good.
But yeah, they tied up a few things and then opened up even more. So,
right. So we're gonna dive into it, talk about the details and all that stuff. We had a few kind of like, oh, we guess that this will happen and this will happen last episode. I don't know if we
that
happened.
And certainly my prediction, but I think all of us were imagining this to be more of a completion,
a wrap up
at the end, Yeah. But I'll take it if it means we get another season. That'd be cool.
We were talking about predictions, and I think it was like it was episode 6 maybe that we were about to watch, or I was like, there's no way they tie up everything in the next couple episodes.
Yeah.
And I said Thrawn was going to leave, and they were going to get stuck behind, and they were going to end it that way. And
at that point, it would have been really disappointing to have the wrap up be so short.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think you also said something like, and that's why we don't see Ahsoka in episode. I was like, no, you can't finish all of Ahsoka that way. Like, if there's season 2, I'm good with it. But all right, so let's talk about basically how it starts off. We start off we get to see that cool Chimera print at the bottom again.
I think it's so interesting that 2 of the back main thrusters are partially disassembled or damaged or something.
Yeah, look at the underneath there on the left, right?
Yeah. And then the one on the right, it doesn't seem damaged, but it's not active either.
Yep.
So,
then it would just go in circles if they turn that one on.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that's why they need the ring, right? They need the ring to get it through because they can't do it by itself.
Well, it couldn't do intergalactic by itself.
All right.
Anyway, so. But yeah, that's cool. I think it would have been cooler to see some other representation of that symbol in other places, and maybe even some kind of hint of explanation as to what that is. I mean, people are in the Thrawn
we know that it's just called the Chimera, and that's. I know that there's this whole legend thing where he fights a Chimera, like when he's young or something, and he kind of uses that as his. I don't know if, that's all legends. That's not canon or anything like that. So, but it's kind of cool that it gets sprinkled in, right?
It's cool that it's in here, but yeah.
So it opens up here where they're kind of like, hey, we think we found the,
Yeah, and by the way, we didn't get any cool Enoch at all. So... That's completely saved for whatever future season, I presume.
I know. I want to see him in action.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. He's got to be cool. I want to see what's under that helmet.
Captain. I think he might be missing a face or something weird because he sounds kind of artificial. Like maybe he got all messed up and his face has been replaced.
Got a little peek of underneath one of the helmets, right? Later on.
Yeah, for them.
Yep.
I like this little conversation where she's like, do we even need to bother with him and stuff? He's like, I have learned not to underestimate a Jedi. I will never do that again. Yeah. Yep. The whole Ezra thing. Yeah.
Yep.
However, having said that, I kind of feel like his defenses were underwhelming of keeping them from getting aboard the ship. But
well, I think he'd figured out timing wise. I'll be able to block him as much as and stuff.
Yeah, he was trying to do it by delays rather than brute force,
but he also didn't I feel in this episode he went a little bit out of character. Because he was the, it doesn't matter if they're dead. It doesn't matter if they find them. Delay them. We're going. Then he had the perfect opportunity to be like, we're going. Fuck them. But then he was like, rain hellfire on them and do all this. I was like, wait a minute. Like, he would have just pieced out. He wanted
No. He rained hellfire down on Kanan at one point during Rebels.
Yeah, and I don't think he got delayed at all. Anything. He didn't like stop or hold up the process, I think, to do that.
Could have just been done, detach and start flying. Instead, he had to hover there and rain down because he wanted to kill him. He didn't want them to survive anymore.
They hadn't finished loading up the thing yet.
Yeah, I don't think there was a delay. I think he did everything as fast as he could and just tried to resist while they were getting on board.
I got the shot later on whenever they tell him, okay, we're done. And if you look behind them, they're actually not done. There's like a couple more being wheeled in.
Right. But I thought at that point they were done. And then he kind of went on the aggressive rather than the defensive and just waited and left. I thought I got to watch it again. I thought he waited a little too long.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see it when it comes there. But I will agree that there are certain little aspects of this where he does go out of character, but in a good way, like a good written way. And I'll point that out.
He also seems like he said several times things that make me feel like they're trying to say he's now realized things he didn't realize before, and so he's acting differently.
Sure. This whole thing, where she starts getting her powers and stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't see this coming at all, and it was a very cool part to see.
Yeah, it's less like it is in Rebels, right? Like we see, or is it Clone Wars, where we see Ventress basically take on the same thing. She's given the powers. They say the same thing, like loyalty and life and all that stuff. And then but in Clone Wars, she like lifts up and there's green smoke everywhere and stuff. They were a little more subtle with it here, which that's fine. I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Plus, she is also already more Dathomir witchy than Ventress was.
Yeah.
It's true.
So maybe there wasn't as much that needed to be done
was just
for her.
The next step up.
Yeah, this is one level up instead of the whole.
I think my favorite part about all of this was how Thrawn was just standing there and taking it all in, right? He's just learning all of this new information and
just observing,
just standing there watching. And he's just got that face of like, it was really cool.
Now, if Thrawn is as Thrawny as we think Thrawn should be, then he is already aware that these witches are pretending to be loyal to him right now, but they have their own agenda. And there could be a moment in the future where those two things are in conflict, and he better have some kind of backup plan if things go south with him. You know?
I mean, I think their whole plan is to repopulate Dathomir, and his whole plan is to take over the thing, and they'll have a nice little cushy spot in their empire. You know, don't mess with them; they'll be fine.
But I'll bet whatever's in those caskets, Thrawn is also wanting to make use of as some kind of army or something.
Maybe. I mean, if Dathomir is a part of the Empire, then they'll probably donate. Oh, here you go. Here's an assassin or two, like they did during the Clone Wars, right?
I think he's already pushed the boundary a little too much on them later on in the episode when he had them take the ship.
Oh. Yeah, I assume we were going to get to that part in a minute. I'll bet you got a screenshot of it even.
Well, let's talk about this one, which is...
Oh, yeah, the sword.
The Blade of Talzin, Mother Talzin, right?
Uh-huh.
That's pretty cool. It doesn't look like the sword that she uses in the Clone Wars.
Oh, do you happen to have a picture of that?
No, I went back and looked at it, but I don't have a picture of it now, but...
Looks a little different.
It looks different. Looks very different, actually, but... That's fine. It could be.
Could she have had multiple blades?
I mean, it could be reformed every time. It doesn't have to look the same. You know, it could just be like her power or whatever is in this blade now.
But it did have that green glow, right? The other blade.
Oh yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It did the
That's
same
cool.
kind of thing. Maybe the power to generate a blade and have it look like this is the blade of Talzin. You know, like Murph's magic arrow in
Oh,
D&D.
yeah.
Right.
Sure. Once you're talking about magic, there's all kinds of flexibility.
I feel like if I was looking at this sword right here, I'd be thinking like, where am I supposed to put this when I'm not using it?
Yep. But look at Thrawn in the background again. Still hasn't moved. Still has his
Yeah, I
hand
know.
behind his back. Still staring at everything that's going on.
Does this blade come with a Mother Talzin sheath?
I thought they were. I thought Mother Townsend was going to be resurrected in Morgan instead.
Hmm.
Yeah, look
This
at that.
shot where he's just sitting there and the TIE fighters go through. It's so good.
Yep,
He's got that smug little face.
for sure.
So this part, so I questioned the second time I watched this. I questioned this, like, why are they still with these people?
Yeah.
Well, the first time I watched it, the very first thing I thought in this scene was, okay, I know they trust their tech, but do you have to fly directly overhead? Like if something were to happen to the repulsors, you know, couldn't you just fly off to the side a little bit with us if you're going to stay with us? And sure enough, you know, it becomes an issue. But
this
anyway,
whole scene was great.
but yeah, wait a minute. Let's talk about your point there because I didn't even think about that. But yeah, why are they still hanging with these guys?
I mean, I get that they're Ezra's friends, right?
They don't plan on having them fight.
Yeah,
and so they're going real super slow with these guys. You think they're going faster to get to the ship?
No,
because that was a big deal.
He comes out later and goes, "I fixed it. Let's get going."
Yeah.
So they were just hanging out with them until he fixed his lightsaber.
Oh, they were just waiting until the lightsaber. Okay.
Oh, because I was thinking, what's the end game? Like, you're not getting them on the ship and taking them back to you're not rescuing them from the planet and taking them off planet, right?
Although I was hoping, really, that when Huyin shows up with the ship later, that he's got some of the little turtle guys with him, and they're going to take them back, and they become like friends.
Yeah,
and then they too were trained as Jedi.
yeah.
Oh,
the whole little Jedi clan. Yep.
And they give them a Beskar coating on their shell.
Mandalorian. Yeah.
The good news is we'll be seeing more of them, I'm sure. So
this was a super cool scene.
Yeah.
Was it?
Him putting this together.
The back and forth with them, like, I don't know. David Tennant is doing such an amazing job.
Yeah.
And the sarcasm and the snippiness.
He's like, everything has its place, and he's messing up his system.
Everything's in. I have a system, or I have an order in disorder.
Yeah.
He's great. He's just great.
And they fit in the middle of all that. Good explanation for the people that didn't know who Hu Yang was, his whole background. They've done a good job of seeding things throughout the story for people who hadn't seen Rebels or Clone Wars, what they need to know. So you could really enjoy this just as a first watch.
Yeah, they still had that little Kanan.
Oh, you wanted to show the tip of the.
Well, I wanted to show. Yeah, that's the same part that he gets the hilt parts or whatever, right? But also the little jab about how Hu Yang tries to give Ezra a piece, and he goes, "No, that'll make the blade too narrow." And it's
really
all about and which is making a joke because people used to complain about the lightsabers looking too narrow.
You think that was really what that was about?
Wow.
I didn't even pick up on that. That's a great point. I knew the thing about people saying the blades were so thin and
I was kind of disappointed that they used Kanan's name again, and we still didn't see anything of Kanan. Like, I don't know how that's going to play out. I don't know if we'll ever see it, but it was kind of a little disappointing. I get.
I mean, technically, you shouldn't.
Yeah, right. I mean, isn't Kanan's voice one of the voices that Rey hears?
Yeah.
That's cool.
But I mean, technically, you shouldn't see him because he never trained to become a Force Ghost, right? And I guess
like Force Ghost email each other and be like, "Hey, this is how you do it."
Well, that's what they did with Vader. Obi-Wan and Yoda kind of like caught him as he was coming through the netherworld.
Right.
And maybe they can do that with other Jedi too.
Yeah.
I mean, Qui-Gon was kind of doing that ahead of time, right? He was like, "Hey, let me train you to be able to do this and stuff."
Right.
Mm.
I think you got to be in the right place, though. Like, remember Obi-Wan? We're going to go off tangent a little bit, but remember whenever Obi-Wan died, he kind of like did this, like he put himself in the right place to go. Yoda
But
did the
that's
same, all that
part
stuff.
of what the training is to get you
Right,
to
but
that
I think
place.
Darth Vader unintentionally put himself in that place whenever he accepted everything, saw Luke, and was like, "I'm ready to die." All that stuff. He did the same kind of thing, so he was able to be grabbed.
I see.
Now you could argue that Kanan
was given his
accepted
life
death,
for
all that. Yeah, you could argue the same thing. So
yeah, I could see it either way.
So yeah, there's the same kind of hell, different handle, but
Yeah.
that was just a cool little bit to add in
No, and
there.
it was cool to say like there were two of them. Kanan had one, and I think it's appropriate you get the other. Like that was neat. Also, he called him. They mentioned Kanan, but then they called him Caleb.
Yeah.
Which, if you watch some of the other stuff, you know that was his real name.
Yeah, that's the name that Hu Yang would have known him by. Yeah.
Right.
So
When
that's why he calls him
training
Caleb.
Yeah.
Because I remember he's a little shy and stuff, which totally feels right with the character and stuff too.
Yeah. If you watch, and I haven't finished yet, but it was cool to see little references in the Bad Batch too.
Oh, yeah.
You know what's interesting is that the Hu Yang character is one of those that could appear in many different series that aren't even in this time period because
that's true.
He could appear in Andor. He could appear in the High Republic period or Acolyte or that movie that's, yeah.
I mean, Ahsoka could appear in Andor the second season.
Yep.
As Fulcrum.
Well, that's true too. Yep. It would be really cool is like a young, vicious Boba Fett appearing in Andor.
So I like this little scene where she's like perched up and doing her little meditation thing. But I liked how she just slides off the edge.
Mm-hmm.
She's got such an easy little, like, all the weight is off her shoulders after that.
And this is all because of her big encounter in the netherworld or whatever it was.
And, tells her, like, yeah, I know what you did. It's all right. No big deal. Nothing.
Yes, they. I mean, the writers, the screen cinematography, the angles, the Rosario Dawson, they are making Ahsoka. They're just giving it the right thing that it needs, like taking it from animation to live action and just treating that character and all characters really in such a very delicate and poignant way in every aspect of everything they're doing. It really is. Tremendous.
And when you consider what could have happened, given what happens with a lot of intellectual properties and corporations and stuff, the fact that you've got somebody at the helm that really understands the message of Star Wars, really understands the Force, the philosophy of the Jedi, how a Jedi is, all of that stuff, we're really fortunate that the right people are in place to do these kinds of things.
Yeah,
I mean, could have had...
To be fair, Filoni's the one that
ran
all of the rebels and from
right, and he started off, working with George Lucas, so he got that message really clear. But it could have gone any number of ways. You could have had random people that I don't like Star Wars, but I'll come in and I'll do a show and make up my own stuff, my own vision of Star Wars. And
episode
have all kinds of crazy, ridiculous stuff. Yeah.
7, 8, and 9 are fine. Stop it.
Anyway, so this is where he comes out. He's like, okay, I finished it. We can go kind of thing. So if he had just been a little bit faster.
And then a blaster hits him.
Yeah.
Well, and then that.
Almost. Yeah. It's like we're just endangering the turtle people at this point.
I know.
Yep.
Like,
well,
let them be.
and even the silly thing, they get down there and like lift, and he's like, "Go, go!" and they just get in their little shells. And like, no, that's the opposite of what you should
Yeah,
be
it's the
doing.
wong thing to do at that point. It worked
Just
well.
take 10 feet that way. You can put the
Yeah.
thing down and get out of it and all that stuff.
And they can't help it because it's like an instinctive response almost,
You're like, oh no. I like that the second she comes through, she starts messing with the thing. And he's like, oh, that's only going to give you,
Yep.
He knows exactly what she's up to.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a little mini Hondo maneuver.
Yeah.
Hondo?
Hondo.
Right?
Hondo.
Hondo? That doesn't sound right now. It's Hondo.
Yeah.
Because Hondo was the pirate, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was her name as well.
I do wish that we got
Wait, what?
whose name?
What was the what's her name? I don't even know her
Haldo.
Haldo, that's
Admiral Haldo. Okay, I
Oh,
see what you're saying.
Aldo. Yeah. Yeah, it almost looked like Ahsoka kind of gave it a push as it went,
Yeah.
Well, it was like she was trying to hold it up. It's like somebody's taking something away from you, and you're both trying to hold it up.
Still kind of
You want to give it that last little up before it comes out of your hands.
And in this part where I think if the wings had hit the cabins, it would have done more damage to the ship itself. But those wings are real, the little solar panel things. Those are real fragile, I think.
Yeah, maybe so. And it's a bigger ship. It's tougher. TIE fighters are notoriously meant to be really light maneuverable craft, so they're probably not very structurally.
We watched this last episode together, and you said, "Oh, that's like a 2D8,
2D hull versus a 4D hull." For the people that play the Star Wars role playing game.
That's funny.
That was kind of fun.
Yeah, that was great.
I
love that when it went down, it was like use the same kind of
and it almost kind of soft landed. It like the repulsors were kind of half working as it went down.
Yep.
Yeah. I really like this scene where she just kind of walks away from
just comes out like everything's fine.
Yeah, and he's just standing there back to us, just looking at the ship going, God damn it.
All that work I did.
Mm-hmm.
Oops. No. I like watching his face whenever he gets the information. This actor, oh man,
he's great.
He is so good. So
all the Mickelsons are good. They just have like the cool actor gene or something about them. They're good in everything.
Yeah, it's not like a Baldwin, like every Mickelson good.
Yeah, where it's all grouped up in one Baldwin. But all the Mickelsons are cool.
Everybody in this series is just spot on amazing. Like we've talked, and this is an aside, but if you look at my problem anyway with the old Marvel Netflix series, right? Like I can get behind Charlie Cox's Daredevil. He fucking nailed it. Jessica Jones, great. Luke Cage, great. But Iron Fist, the casting of Danny Rand, like it just didn't work for me. And that's a main character. If this wasn't, and it's great that it was the same voice actor from Rebels, like it's brilliant. But if this wasn't Thrawn, like if they didn't come across as this stoic and this calculated, it wouldn't have sold the character. Just like even Ezra, just like Hera, just like everybody has been so
amazing. Ezra is perfect too. Yeah. I could watch a whole series just about Ezra,
that guy is amazing.
Yeah. He perfectly, it's not just that he looks like him, but his expressions. He's that he must have just watched a lot of Rebels.
It's not not even like his mannerisms are spot on, that he tried to get like Ezra's turns or Ezra's fight. His voice sounds like they just Ezra's the voice actor and just dubbed it. He's that, like all of the inflections he has in his voice, and he is like Thrawn is just.
So in this scene, this is where they're saying like, "Oh, we found him, but we damaged him, but then the TIE fighters didn't return." and he gets this little. He keeps doing this thing where he's like, it upsets him, but then he calms himself down.
Mhm.
He's like, I hate these people, but I'm not going to let that dictate my actions.
Mhm.
Like he
Mhm.
himself has this stoic. It's almost like like the opposite of Jedi, but the same kind of thing where I'm not going to make decisions based off my emotions. I'm going to make calculated blah blah blah.
Only instead of force powers, it's analytical powers
Right.
or something like
Yeah.
that.
Very tactical.
Yeah.
I like too that he has this almost automatic notion of, I don't want to say honor, but there is this kind of certain level of lawfulness about his character. There's like,
Yeah.
make sure that the TIE fighter captain receives a citation and then move on to the next blah blah blah. Like,
Yeah.
it's important to him that the check marks get checked off
Mhm.
as you're supposed to do.
That's probably what he admired about the Empire, is that it was this super rigid, orderly system. It's kind of weird though. Like I wish there had been a little more detail in the strategy that we see from him. Instead, it often feels like stuff happened, or it feels like he says, "We want to be ahead of them," and then stuff happens, and he goes, "Well, that's not important anyway. Let's leave." It's like I wanted to see a little bit more detail in terms of like, bring them out here and do this, and then we see him fall into his trap, kind of.
But that's not his thing. His thing isn't like, oh, they're trying to do this. Well, I'll do this and this and this to fix it. Instead, what he does is goes, I know what they will do because I know them.
Mhm.
And what we'll do is we'll just calculate everything of what they're going to do, and we'll do as little as we need to, sacrifice as little as we need to win.
It's like attrition. Just basically
Exactly.
fall back, because all that really matters is the ultimate goal,
Right.
not all these little things. And we'll let them play out, almost like letting them play in a little stage play,
Mhm.
doing their little hero thing. But meanwhile, we're
He's always
completing
like,
the big thing.
yeah, we'll let
Yeah.
them have this little win here because ultimately it doesn't matter. Blah blah blah. He does
And
that to Rebels as
The
well.
wild card in this whole thing, though, was Sabine having a breakthrough and being able to use the Force,
Yep.
because that was the one
Yep.
thing that the outlier was Ezra getting on board the ship the last minute.
Yeah.
Yeah,
At
he's
least
calculating
I
to let
presume.
things go for no reason. He knows he can predict what they're going to do with such accuracy that he's like, send this out, and because we sent this out, this is going to happen, and because that's going to happen, we're going to be over here, and we'll end up ahead of them. Like he knows his strategy.
Yeah.
Is just,
In this scene, he says, "Okay, we did that. Prepare for a ground assault."
Yep.
And then the next thing is them assaulting from the ground.
yeah, it's almost
Yeah.
like he knows, he's like reading the chapter book that he's read before. He's like, okay,
But like, it might have been better though, instead of like, okay, I know what they're going to do. Now they're coming up and they're running at the ship, so I'm going to have the bombardment from above. But like, what if they dodge it and they get through? He didn't really. I guess he had the troops. Then is the next level.
Yeah,
if
he
they
has
get through
the
that,
troops
then we'll have
ready.
the troops.
He already has
Yeah.
them ready to be resurrected. All this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in fact, he did succeed. They didn't, except
He
for
won
Ezra.
the day, as he says. Yeah. This was interesting because she says, "Oh, you're being blessed by them" and all that, but he asks if they knew what they were volunteering for, basically.
Yep.
And what that makes me think is that they can't raise you unless you volunteer or are somehow blessed ahead of time or something.
Who is it that asked if they knew?
No.
Thrawn. So
Thrawn did?
Thrawn comes up after this and says, "These are
Okay.
the volunteers," and they were made aware.
They were
Like-
made aware that they were going to be on here while the ship was going, and they were going to be left behind.
Yeah, but I think they were also.
It
made
might be
aware that they
also-
would be turned into zombies if they fall.
It could be, but also, to me, regardless of what it is they're made aware of, what it shows me about Thrawn is I think he was doing that out of respect for his troops.
Yeah.
Like Like he's not gonna,
Sure.
same thing with the commendation and all that. Like he wants his troops to know that he's appreciative and they get their accolades and
Huh.
But that's the thing.
They knew they were going to get left behind.
He's not one of these bad guys that
think
just
too.
chokes and kills everybody who comes and reports bad news to him.
Well, we've seen him give. I mean, like in Rebels and stuff, he would show appreciation for the skills of his enemies.
Mm-hmm.
Be like, oh, that was a good move on their part. Very good. It's just like if you're playing chess and you don't really care about the win as much as the game. Yep. It's like, oh, that was a good move. Good for you. Yeah, I'll try to rethink and learn from that. Like,
and then he notes it and moves. Yeah.
This was, this is where she like basically tells Thrawn, they were made aware and stuff. That's what made me think that they know what is going to happen.
But I think those red bands are part of that spell. And that all of the troops that have red bands are like that. They can be risen up. If the witches are there to do it.
Right? Maybe.
That was a cool shot.
Yeah.
If they hadn't sat there and talked.
Right.
I know. Like, a little more urgency. This was the moment where he had the most anger on his face, I think. Was right here in this scene.
Oh, where he sees that they're coming?
It was something that happened. No, it's not this moment. But he's standing over that table like that.
Yeah.
And he's really mad. I can't think of what part. Oh, that was it. When they come right through the door at the last minute as it closes, that was when he was most mad. Because I think he thought the bombardment would do him in.
Probably hoping he could at least get one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was crazy. Oh, go back one. Well, now two.
That one?
Look at the damage on the front of the ship there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where the Purgle grabbed it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can see a lot of the repairs are in that gold material that the sisters use.
Yeah, must be some material native to the planet.
This was pretty cool, both of them. Someone should tell Ezra not to try to push the cameraman, but the gate's this way.
Yeah. Well,
maybe she was doing the left door and he's doing the right door.
Yeah, maybe.
He's doing opposite doors.
Yeah, that was pretty close.
Yep.
I was actually kind of thinking, like, the second Ahsoka goes through, the doors really start falling fast because she's not doing anymore. It's them. That's the mad song. That's the mad.
Yeah.
It would have been cool if, as Ezra's wolf is coming, Ezra and Sabine's wolf is coming through, it just nicks the last little tip of the wolf's tail and it goes, hey! Like that.
No, you can't hurt the wolves.
Yeah.
I guess they're dead now.
Unless they got out, yeah.
Yeah, because they were on top of that.
They don't know the Force.
No, they're in the rubble, yeah.
Well, maybe there was another way out.
We will not speak of such things.
Well, the crate.
They're going to have cybernetic lower half when we see them.
Those crate, were the crate they were like Arctic foxes on Crete. That had a back way out of that tunnel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the Loathe Wolves? Oh no, you on the
those little crystal
right?
wolves. Yeah.
Episode 8. Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, so these guys come down here. I didn't quite get it, but one of these guys trips down the steps at one point. It was kind of funny.
He falls.
Oh no!
Does he fall completely over?
No, he catches himself. He like almost falls.
Oh well, it can happen.
Yeah,
but
the stormtrooper that hits the helmet on the yeah.
Even before what's about to come up, I thought they did perform pretty damn good here. I think these might be better performances than we often see against characters like
against
this.
3 Jedi, you're not going to have any hope anyway. But
they held out pretty long, and it was pretty challenging. You could tell.
This was a cool scene.
Go back
to.
This gave me such an old school PC Star Wars vibe. Like Forces or something, where they were coming into the scene and almost like Dragon's Lair, where it was a video game, but it was like live action in the video game that would trigger. They were coming in at such a pace, and I was like, I just wanted to have like a first person shooter moment to just start shooting them. It had really a really cool video game feel in this moment.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
Look at that shot. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah, this was a cool scene to have all 3 of them together with their lightsabers.
Mm-hmm.
They did some cool stuff here too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there were some good
moves.
moves.
To switch to blasters because she's not like quite doing the best she can to block stuff.
Yeah, and they did that move again, right? Where Ezra brought them towards Ahsoka and Ahsoka cut him down. Yeah.
That was very cool. That was one of my favorites. And switching to the blaster made sense too, because when you're deflecting the blasters at best with 100% efficiency, you're getting 1 blaster per 1 shot back on the stormtroopers. And if you got a lot of stormtroopers, you might need to up the rate of elimination more from a distance.
Yeah, this is the part.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I watched a video. I can't remember what it's called now, but they were talking about this moment, and they brought up the fact that right at this moment where he starts coming to life, there's a violin that comes on like here.
Yes,
and
I'm glad you mentioned.
It comes from like a famous song that it's called like the Death of the Macabre, or I forget what it's called.
Because I was definitely planning on bringing up the soundtrack at this moment, because the music in this scene is total zombie horror music. If you watch it again, just listen to the music. It's really cool.
The song that it's from is from I can't unfortunately remember the name of it, but it's something like the Dance of the Dead or the Devil Dances with Death or something like that, and it's about death raising people from the grave to dance with them and stuff like that. Very famous song, and they use
it's
it.
Reminiscent of it or similar to it?
Like they use the intro, like the violin. Thing.
That's cool.
Yeah. Hey, how's it go?
Nope.
I just noticed that it sounded very much like the music you would hear in a zombie movie. This was cool.
Yeah, I like the green fire and stuff. Zombie is using blasters. That's not good.
Yeah, they don't use them too much. They use them a little bit. Use them very well. They're mostly just trying to come up and grab them. But zombie stormtroopers, come on, let's go. We finally get. I mean, that's just so great. Then he grabs them. They must be like really strong too.
Yeah, I was thinking like, oh, this is gonna be that moment where like she tells them move just in time and shoot. But I like that she switches to the lightsaber and does like a cool move right underneath them. And this was a fun moment where he's like, nice moves, and you're like, well, she's been training. He's like, what's your excuse?
Yeah.
He's like, I miss you. It was just a good like moment between them. There's the docking thing, which is very reminiscent of the episode 2 docking rings of the.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's what it is.
I mean, they even clamped the same way, like did that.
Yeah, it fits pretty much exactly like I expected it would look.
You can even see like this is an open bay right here, and this little thing connects directly with the open bay so they could walk in between.
Yep.
Interesting. Yeah. I noticed something new that I hadn't noticed through the whole series until now is when you know how at the top of the ring is that little control room that Elsbeth would be in and stuff, and you're looking out the window of that.
Yeah.
Well, that window is shaped like a big eye, like it's shaped like an eyeball or an eye, football shaped eye
Yep.
thing, and it's called the Eye of Sun. So anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's good nod. Yeah, this was weird, right? Because they were kind of whispering to each other, like, "Don't let anyone hear." And then Morgan comes in and like, "Oh wait, she's listening. Let's talk louder."
Well,
That's what I'm talking about. He's definitely got some thoughts and ideas that he hasn't shared with the Night Sisters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know though. When he tells her, basically, you kind of need to hang back, and he looks upset about it. Like,
well,
he
yeah,
looks saddened about
nobody likes to sacrifice their assets in a battle, but you figure you have to. Sometimes you got to give up the rook to get the queen. And,
He knows this moment's coming. Like, he predicted that this was going to have to happen, just like he's predicted everything else. So he knew it was coming.
I'm sure he knew that it was a possibility. I'm sure he.
Now he says something like "Long live the Empire," and she says "For Dathomir" or something.
He says "For the Empire" and walks away, and then she whispers "For Dathomir."
For Dathomir. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's some space between their objectives.
Yeah. It's also interesting. Earlier in this episode, she talks about the troops are going to sacrifice themselves, kind of thing, to him, and he said, and she says, "For you," and he goes, "No, not for me, for the Empire." And then for here, he's again saying, "For the Empire," and she's like, "No, for Dathomir."
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's. Yeah.
Now, why do you think that so many back in the secret Imperial Remnant Council are so, like, why is it that Thrawn is going to unite them all and rebirth the Empire?
That's
is it just because they respect his the things he did for the Empire while he was in command?
That's what an empire is it's one emperor.
Sure, but why him and not, one of the other admirals?
I honestly think it's because he wasn't there. Because he wasn't there, none of them could take control without causing a war. So they all said, "You know what? Thrawn's the one that should really be ruling. Why
and
don't
he
we
can't be blamed for anything. They probably all have blame for some part of it.
Why don't we roll as a council, do our own thing for a little while?" It was kind of their way of not committing, because the minute one of them tries to become the emperor, basically, the others fight all amongst themselves.
So it could just be a matter of it was somebody they could all agree on.
Yeah,
they're like he's really good. He's a leader. He's a strategist.
Thought he would ever come back. Yeah.
No one's
You get to do your own little thing with your little section of the Empire,
and they thought he would never come back. But then once they do, they kind of have these agreements in place.
Yeah, I'm sure some of them want him to come back because they think he'd be able to lead them.
But I bet that who was the bad guy in The Mandalorian, Moff Gideon.
Yeah.
I bet he was kind of hoping he could be the one.
Someone like him probably was thinking that.
In fact, he actively sabotaged something that was supposed to help Thrawn. I can't remember what it was now, but we talked about it at the time.
I think that some of them probably have the design to be the leader, but for the most part, when you're in an empire and you're going up the track, all the evil empires you can think of, most of the time it's because they just want to be an underling. Like they feel secure having someone tell them what to do. And Thrawn is one of these powerful people that they look up to do that.
I think, would you argue that during Thrawn's reign, the Empire was at its strongest? Like, Tarkin had it pretty nailed down. And I guess the rebellion kind of came under Thrawn's watch.
Well, it wasn't until the first Death Star was destroyed that people started to see the cracks in the Empire and realize that it could be fought.
Right.
Which is why later they base a whole dating system on the Battle of Yavin. But before that point, I guess from the founding of the Empire up to just before Episode 4, that's kind of like the glory years of the Empire, right?
And Thrawn is Thrawn is right in the thick of things at that point. So I wonder if they have hope of, the Empire will live again because Thrawn can come back. Because look at where we were when we had Thrawn.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like Thrawn left, and then shortly after that, the rebels got big, and then they took on everything, and everything went bad after Thrawn left. Is what you're thinking.
Well, all those people on the inside are thinking like, well, look at where we were back when we had that manager, and that manager had this place rocking.
Yeah.
And they get lost. So
that's a good point.
Managers
and there could have been, Tarkin could have been one. There could have been 3 or 4 people that might have fulfilled this role, and they all just happen to be dead now. They get destroyed at the Battle of Jeddah or whatever.
Right, but that's a finality, right? Like they're dead. Thrawn was still out there.
Yeah.
Right? And look at how strong we were under Thrawn, so let's get Thrawn back.
Now, zombies that can use blasters is one thing. Zombies that can use this stuff, that's
plastic explosives or whatever they do to blow them. They still have a lot of their stormtrooper knowledge. So,
yeah, that was a little weird.
Well, there was a second group of stormtroopers that came in.
Yeah, that second group were all just using blasters. They were normal stormtroopers
that joined later on against the.
I saw them. They came in from a side hallway.
Yeah. So
that makes more sense.
I like that the second that they come in here, Ahsoka like puts her arm out like to Sabine, like, don't you dare go up there. Like she knows her.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a rematch that we've been waiting for since Mando season 2.
Yeah. And it was a good one too. It was very well orchestrated.
Yeah. I remember in Mandalorian, I was like, ooh. I thought she was just going to get her butt kicked because I thought she was just some governess or something. I didn't know she was a witch of Dathomar.
Yeah, she gave her a good run for her money there first time.
She even disarmed one of her weapons at one point.
That's what I was thinking. It was like, well, the last time they fought, all she had was a Beskar staff, and now she's got superpowers and a sword and everything. So, yeah.
I gotta watch the fight scene again, but there were a couple times I think they tried to pull off Anakin's move where he disarmed Dooku, like he came underneath and cut the arms off. Like I think he was trying that same thing, and I saw her deflect it, kind of like what Obi did when Anakin tried it on him.
Oh, if that's true, I want to see that. Yeah, I'm gonna go back.
I want to watch it again because it looked like there was a lot of that kind of twisting and trying to get like underneath, get the wrist, and cut it off. And I know. Like Anakin did it to Dooku, but then Anakin tried it on Obi. And if you watch that scene where they're going at each other, when Anakin tries it, Obi recognizes it and kind of adjusts. Yeah. And I want to see if that happens.
That's cool. Very cool.
It makes more sense that Obi would recognize it from Anakin because Obi was knocked out when that was going on.
Right, but Obi-Wan probably taught him that move.
Right.
Yeah. If that's the their techniques matched perfectly when they were Obi-Wan and Anakin were fighting. So
I need to watch.
I think you're right.
Parallel.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool little like you grab one wrist and you go underneath and you come around and cut off both arms. It's very distinguishable.
Where I thought it was going to happen, the way that they were positioning themselves and they took like a lower shoulder and dipped, and I was like, "Oh shit!"
Oh, I'm going to look for that. Thanks. Yeah.
It was really neat to see.
This scene was interesting because these guys were already zombies, which we hadn't seen before.
No, where did these guys come from?
Yeah, these were death troopers normally, and now they're undead troopers.
Way back there.
Yeah.
They've been there the whole time.
Yeah.
So they're already zombies. Yeah. Pretty wild.
Yeah.
And they were a lot stronger too.
The shot you have overhead of the platform and Ahsoka, that's really neat. Like how
it's like the end credits.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah,
stuff.
when he stabs this guy and he just looks at him.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, "Oh, sorry." That was more of an Ezra thing and stuff.
Did you read the thing about how Ezra's chainmail is the dog tags of fallen troopers that he's killed?
Yeah, and I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, I heard that. I don't think I like that, though.
It could be just made up lore, right? Just something somebody made up.
Yeah.
Or not even lore.
I don't think the stormtroopers have dog tags. So I don't know.
Even if they did, I don't think he's the type to put a notch on his belt every time he kills a stormtrooper.
Trophies like that of
Yeah.
killing trophies. That doesn't sound
seem right.
Yeah.
It could be. I mean, I wouldn't be like, what? No, upset.
It's probably beer tabs.
Sure, yeah.
That might actually move more. Right? This was a cool scene. She's just shooting him in the face.
Oh yeah, and then she knocks the thing off, and you can see the zombie mouth.
Yeah,
and then he starts trying to bite her.
Yeah, you can see his flesh in there. It's all messed up. He's been a zombie for a while.
Yeah, there's been some rotten going on, or there was rotten and then raised.
Yeah.
I so wanted this to happen, and I'm like, I'm not going to get my hopes up. They're just going to fucking tease it again, and it's not going to happen. That Luke moment in the Wampa cave where you're like,
there's something about really being at risk that gives you that extra incentive to make it work.
That force point.
Yeah. You can just overpower, a Sith with no training whatsoever.
That was a cool moment.
What a shot.
Yeah. It's that repeat of that episode 9 shot with Kylo Ren, right? Where he
with the turns on and off.
Yeah. I thought that was a cool move.
Yeah, that was one of those. It wasn't as goosebumpy as some Star Wars moments are, but I purposefully didn't get my hopes up because I was like, nah, something like Ezra's gonna come in or something else is gonna happen because.
Look how you can see the mouth right there, all open.
Oh, so great, so great.
Yeah, as I was catching still frames, I actually caught the blade here, and then inside. Like I only captured this one, but as I was hitting stop pause to do the screenshots, and they did such a good job of making it go. They must go every single frame.
Yeah, that's interesting. I love how the green also reflects inside the lenses of.
It's illuminating his skull. Yep.
Oh, go back one. That's cool. She's just coming down with a hack.
Yeah, the fight between these two was just I was going frame by frame with these as well. Like they were pulling back the lightsabers were coming this close, ducking under. They were right on top of each other. Like it was like a dance.
Very good choreography in these. And you know what I've seen in all of these battles, including the one with Balin's skull and all, is one of the things I always look for that are in bad choreography is where there'll be something that's supposed to block a shot, and you see the actor go for it, like trying to hit the shield, trying to, or missing by a mile or something, And these look like they're actually really trying to deliver a blow, and the person's really getting out of the way or blocking.
Yeah, it's like whenever you watch the first Obi-Wan and Darth Vader fight in Episode 4, they're like way far apart, just barely touching the lightsaber. Like, why are you even bothering touching lightsabers? Like, if this lightsaber wasn't there, you wouldn't be hitting anything. But
if you remember in Return of the Jedi, when they're on the skiff outside over the Sarlacc pit and Luke gets his saber, he force kicks one of the guards. Like he doesn't even touch him. And he's like this far away from the guy reacts.
We should mention this though, because that of course was a mistake. It wasn't, but then later they explained it as force kick, kind of jokingly. But there's a scene with Ezra when he's fighting without the lightsaber in was it last episode or the one before?
Yep.
And he does a kick that force kicks somebody from a distance, and they purposely did that to reference what happens with Luke in Return of the Jedi.
They made canon the force kick.
It makes sense. It's through your foot, through your hand. What's the difference?
Yeah.
Well, the Force is his ally now, so he can just kick and whatever.
Yeah.
I love this moment where the stormtroopers just like, oh, okay, they're way back there. Bother.
Yeah, they're like, we can't hit that.
You're gonna hit them if they were next to them.
This goes back to one of those points we made, either the episode, last episode or the episode before, where like the scope of the scenes that they're giving us. like this would have been something from their point of view, but we would have seen the platform that they were on without all of that in the background. But now we're given this huge moment where it's like, look at the land behind it. They're on this. It's everything's so critical the way they've done.
I think what it is that, you know, you got this volume that you film in, and it saves a lot of money. So you're always tempted to try to pull it off with just the volume. But if you spend a little more and do a CG scene, you can back out further. And so I think they probably heard some of the criticism, and they have balanced it out a lot better now.
Oh, good.
Yeah, there's a lot of times where you can't tell the difference between CG.
I never think about it anymore. Yeah. It just looks like they went to this planet to film this.
Yeah.
You know?
So good. Look at that.
That's quite a distance.
Yeah.
Look at the background, right? You got the river, the lake, like you got all
the
backgrounds. Like, holy, like that's amazing.
This whole scene reminded me of the Clone Wars whenever you would see the both Anakin and Ahsoka like leaping from building to building.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh,
and just before, you know, it's sort of like a cake. Just before he jumps, you hear the kind of noise because it is
that little low pitched hum.
Yeah. They got to do the thing where he looks like he misses. Yeah. And they're looking down. He does the whole Obi-Wan Kenobi like leap up this way.
Yeah. You don't expect somebody to jump like that.
Yeah, I know.
Yep.
So you knew which way she was going to choose.
That moment.
It had to be. This was the inverse of the last decision she had to make. It was like, I'm with Ahsoka.
It's like her redeeming arc.
Mm-hmm.
Not alone.
Yeah.
Lost a lightsaber.
Uh-huh.
That hurts.
Well, she gained something a little bit more powerful, I would argue.
Well, at least she's got a ship with an ancient lightsaber builder who's full of supplies to build new lightsabers.
Yeah. She's in the right place.
Yeah.
I like the dark gray that's on some of the helmets. I'm wondering why that is. What that's about.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the one that just had the dark gray mouth
on the bottom part. Yeah.
That's where she hears Sabine. I like the little cocky face she gives her right before the whole fighting part. She did not like that.
Huh.
When she says kill her, you hear that echo. Like ever since she got her black eyes, when she talks, she has that echoey, whispery voice and stuff.
Like
really
Mother
cool.
Townsend did.
Yeah,
right?
and
like the other witches.
Yeah.
I love
those witches, by the way. I just loved them. All three of them were just great.
Yep.
I love seeing her fight with the lightsaber and blaster together. Just smoothly put it all together.
Kind of in Ezra's old way of doing things too.
Yeah, but even better because Mandalorian styles, right? She's blocking shots with her armor, shooting, slicing. This was such a great moment to see her. Like, it felt like she'd taken everything together, right?
Yep.
Yeah, she's like the Bruce Lee, combining the different martial arts into one thing,
Which we talked about last time. Morgan, the actress, is actually named after Bruce Lee because their family is kind of intertwined for a while.
Oh.
Yeah.
Her middle name is Lee and is named after Bruce.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, this is her doing these moves and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, she's done this stuff. Like she's that kind of she knows it.
So great, man. Everything about this is just so great.
I think she does actually do kind of one of those twisty moves here to take the sword from her.
Yeah.
Mm. She's like,
Yep.
Oh.
And then both of
she's got him with
cuts.
both, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't just a one cut. She got both of them through.
Yeah. And then she does the Bruce Campbell without looking back.
So great.
And they're like, damn it. They can tell what happened.
That was pretty cool that they're like, oh man, she died.
And he's like, what the hell is that?
I love this moment where he hears them talking on the comms, and then and they called the number, and he's like, "Hey, this is blah blah blah." Does it so much better than Han Solo did.
Yeah,
he made his con roll there.
My favorite thing about this moment is that we've done this so many times in role playing.
Yeah,
play the Star Wars role playing game. How do you not? You get the stormtrooper outfit. You listen. You go. You go
in fact, one time, you remember when y'all were at that door that had the voice authorization thing, and you couldn't get through, and so you called the commander who had the response, and when he answered, y'all held it up to the thing, and it opened the door.
Yeah. It was like one of like 3 levels of security, and that was the final one we couldn't get through. Yeah.
I kind of thought this was a little cheesy at first. Like, of course he's going to grab the comm, and of course he's going to do the thing. But then, like, Ezra spent some time behind the curtain with them, so he would know how to talk, how to sign off, how to whatever. So it kinda,
well, but this is clearly
he's got training as a stormtrooper because he went to that academy thing. Remember that?
Right.
Well, not only that, but he's done this many times. He puts on helmets and goes, "Oh yes, sir," and walks past things. Like that's his thing. Is like he can. What's one of his things? He can just blend in.
It does remind me of that supervillain thing about if I was a supervillain, all of my minions would have clear helmets. We can see their face.
Yeah.
I always said my minions would have big metal things that come up right here, so nobody could come up behind them and snap their necks
around their neck. Yeah.
This was cool. Was this the conversation with Ahsoka? Oh no, not yet.
This is where he says, "Oh, Mother Townsend. I mean, not Mother Townsend. Oh, Morgan's dead. All right, blow up the."
Yeah. Now, did you get the shot of the little look? Because there was when he says to blow up the temple in the background, you see one of the witches do a little look at him like that, and that little look tells you everything.
I think that little look. She looks and goes, "Okay, like I understand," kind of thing. I think she understood.
Oh, she may have accepted it. I mean, they obviously did because they didn't say anything. Yeah. But just that little bit of head turn like that meant like, okay, we're going to still keep going along with this, but that's going to be a little brownie point you just lost that's going to weigh on things later.
I mean, they did totally evacuate it. They're not
I know,
back.
But it's probably a sacred site to them, though. That's probably not cool. But they keenly chose to not say anything, but in their mind, there's a little tick, you know.
Now we knew when they jumped off of there.
I didn't know it'd be the ship. I was like, "What?"
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean,
I thought maybe they'd do a force push as they landed.
While they were fighting, she had her little comm went ding ding ding, and she said, "You ready to get out of here?"
I missed it.
Yeah, that was him saying. But I knew because they were chasing. I knew immediately it was going to be the ship coming up with them on top. You know.
Oh, guess what? We're going to have in cosplay at the next events. People are going to be cosplaying these stormtroopers here with the red bands and the little gold and stuff, and probably some with missing parts and zombie mounts and.
Oh. With the green glowing behind.
With the green glow. Yeah, somebody's got to be cosplaying that.
Yep, I hope so.
I hope they make a helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they get out of there just in time.
And then the whole thing collapses, yeah.
I know. Man, it is rare that you see... I love seeing the rings like that. It is rare that you see the good guy like booking it, trying to get in there, and then they don't make it. You know, normally you're like, "Oh, they're gonna make it, and just in time." And
you knew. I mean, I knew that's the way it was gonna end. I don't know what they're gonna do with it moving forward because that's something we can talk about. Like, who's still left on this planet?
I mean,
you know what would be? Go ahead.
I was just going to say they can't let her catch up because then Ahsoka's going to kill everyone on board.
Right.
She's going to go room to room until Thrawn's dead, right?
Well, now what they got to do is go figure out what Balin was up to and whatever little power he's going for. Something like that's going to be how they get back.
Well, they're going to find the world between worlds. That's how they're going to get back.
Yeah.
Oh, that's possible. This moment here where he calls Ahsoka,
Yeah.
he's like, "It's unfortunate we never met, but I know you." That "I know you" thing is what he does all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he just
Well,
like revels in his knowledge.
For me, there was one step further when he said something about how she would end up like him.
Yes,
Which really gave that idea of like, I knew
Anakin. Yeah.
But you know what? What's interesting about this is some possibilities for the next season is that, first she went through that experience and she made peace with Anakin, accepted his teachings again. That's cool. That's like a stage, right? But the next stage might be something more like where I'm going to talk about Star Trek. In Star Trek, in the best of both worlds, Riker has to take over for Picard, who's the captain, and Picard, all his knowledge is like in the hands of the enemy, and so he's like, "You've learned under him. Now you got to throw that book out and and become your own captain." And so maybe this will be a sort of a similar sort of thing where she now has to transcend those teachings and have her own sense of identity and way of doing things, and that's the only way she's going to be able to beat Thrawn is to be something unknown to Thrawn.
Yeah. Well, I think that was part of the point of this is your final lesson from Anakin, right? I have no more to teach you after this kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So season 2, I want to see that. I want to see.
Well, we're not to season 2 yet. There's still more stuff to talk.
Oh, right. We got more.
We're not
stuff
done with the
yet.
episode.
Okay.
This little smirk.
Yep.
Oh, the day is mine.
Yep. He yeets up out of there.
That's right.
Well, he doesn't know Ezra's on the ship. Like, he's all smug and
right.
No.
It's like.
And then these little guys like, oh, yay, you're back.
Yeah.
Come fly that thing over us again. Try to get us killed.
There you go.
Oh. We finally see it.
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to see. Yeah.
Like, what is this thing doing here? Way over in another galaxy.
Well, we found out, right? We know why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I totally forgot about her.
Yeah. Now when this
episode, I totally
am I right about this in thinking that when Baylan Skoll said you should go back to Thrawn and you can become one of a big time leader in his organization. So he thought she was going to go back there, but she didn't.
Yeah.
So is she decided she wants to follow her old master or what?
What he told her was go down there and do what Thrawn wants you to do so that when you go back, you're a hero to Thrawn and you take your place with him. But she failed. So she can't go back to Thrawn as a failure. She'll just be thrown into nothingness. And
so you think it was more about that rather than
I think she saw herself as a failure and thought, oh, I better go find Baylan again. Yeah.
What do you think, Mike?
I think she's wandering around lost.
I agree with Chris. I think she failed at what she was supposed to do and she can't go back there. Also, she probably knows that the ship isn't there anymore.
Well, that too. Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
She didn't race back. She had plenty of time.
I think she could have gotten back if she wanted to.
I don't know what her plan is. And obviously, this is what I was talking about with like who's left on the planet and what season 2 is going to be. I don't know what her plan is with the Samurai Tusken Raiders. I don't know what she's going to be doing with them on this planet. I don't know what else this planet has to offer anybody. Like, we don't know the scope of the planet. I get it. We know it's a ancient ground for the sisters, and we end up finding out that it's kind of the homeworld for the Force. Like, I get it, but like,
we don't even know what other planets in this galaxy have. There could be other
ship, so they're not really getting on unless we don't know that there's another ship and these guys have a ship or something. But like, you're not forming an army to go conquer any of this land. There's no one. Right?
No, but I think it's smart to be like, oh, I don't know anything about this planet, and there's these people that clearly know how to survive on this planet. I'll just take over them.
Yeah, they'll probably let her be the leader.
Yeah, this is the I'm your new leader position.
Yeah, I thought it was more like, hey, it's us again who have the lightsabers. Don't shoot at me when I come down there.
I thought it was like, hey, I'm here to rule you. Like,
Oh, maybe too. I don't know. So.
That's one of the questions.
Someone holds their weapon up like that. You're not like, oh yeah, come on down. You'll be like a little grunt or anything. You're like,
yeah.
Now this moment though, I was really sad not to get more of him. Obviously, because we can't anymore.
They obviously were teasing more, but
yeah.
So, okay, let's talk about this first. Yeah, we know what this is. For people who haven't seen Clone Wars, I guess there was an episode in Clone Wars that went over this. These are figures that somehow relate to archetypes of powers within the Force or something like that. Aspects of the Force.
One, the brother and the sister, right? Is that what they're called?
Yeah, and
the father, the brother, and the sister.
Father, the brother.
And the sister's head is collapsed because she was the first to die in that thing they lived through, which could have been their subconscious interpreting something. You know what I mean?
Picture of it.
There's also a wedge in between her and the father as well.
Mm-hmm. That's definitely representative of something. And then Morai, of course, was her. The little owl thing that Ahsoka saw was her creature.
Yeah. So in Clone Wars, basically, Ahsoka dies, and no, spoil stuff, but she dies, and they bring her back to life by taking the life force of the daughter and putting it into her. And that's why the Morai follows her around and all that stuff. So essentially, this you could say almost that like Anakin was supposed to be the father. He was supposed to take on the role of controlling the son. I mean, not the son, but the brother and the sister. That was what he was trying to do, was get Anakin to take over because the father was about.
You think Baylan wants to do that?
I think Baylan wants to take on that role. Yeah.
And then maybe his apprentice T will be the dark side, the son.
Yeah. And then Ahsoka's the daughter.
That role. Maybe so. And then also there's another scene of him from behind, and it's showing what he's looking at while he's standing up there. Do you have that? Yeah, because there's a little light shooting up, like a beam of light, and it's hard to see, but it's out in the mountains in the distance. There it is. Yeah. So whatever that is probably what he's trying to do. Yeah. It's what?
It's
like pulsating.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. But yeah, that's probably what he's headed toward. And that's what the statue is pointing at. So it's like pointing the direction to that.
And also,
I can't find
someone mentioned that it's the same color as his lightsaber as well.
Are you saying, Mike, that you don't see it?
No, I have a picture. I saved a picture of the trilogy of the Trinity of them from the Rebels, the mosaic.
Oh, right. Yes.
Man, I can't find the picture. It's on my phone somewhere, but I can't.
Yeah, I wish we had that picture to share because the mosaic also uses gold lines to draw the edges of everything, which is interesting because the sun that represents the dark side or whatever, his face is white with black markings, like
it's white,
like the Night Sisters.
It's the Inquisitor, though. Doesn't he look more like an Inquisitor?
But it's like black lines on his face, and he's got a white face. And so it's interesting how similar that looks to the Night Sisters.
For sure.
So that the fact that this would be somehow connected and on the same planet, there's definitely some kind of shared thing going on here, history stuff that we don't know yet. Very fascinating.
They're called the Ones. They're referred to as the Ones, the Mortis gods.
The Ones.
And this is the image.
There it is. There it is. Yeah, so look at his face.
Yeah.
He
looks like the Inquisitor. He's got the markings of the Inquisitor.
Uh-huh.
Oh, interesting.
That's what I always saw when I saw that. And like that whole episode, it just looked like it almost got confusing because it looked like the Grand Inquisitor.
Well, maybe
There's
those
some more
Inquisitors
ions.
have markings like that because they're mimicking some dark side ancient history thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's more eye.
Yeah.
But you see those gold flake
Yeah.
lines? Very similar
Yep,
to what we see on the Dathomir ruins.
Sure.
Interesting.
So the crossover there is interesting. Yeah. Now, they're teasing him, obviously, but what are they going to do? Because they don't have this actor they could recast. Or maybe he's going to get to that mountain and have already been transformed in some way so that by the time they make their way there, there's some kind of CG glowy thing that we know is him, but it doesn't have to really be an actor.
There's always the possibility of, hey, we're all out here at the location. We got you in costume. Let's get a little bit more of you traveling and blah, blah, blah that they'll be able to use.
Maybe they filmed some extra stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll allow him to be recreated to some degree for some certain scenes they need him for. But there's definitely they can't just drop that storyline.
No, to flesh it out, they're going to have to recast or do something where he steps into something like a Fountain of Youth and he's younger or whatever.
Yeah.
I think they just do this glowy force thing around him the entire time, and it'll break what that is because they never had that. Although they did have a little bit of a glow in the episode, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we really don't know what they're going to do, so it's hard to guess what that'll be. Okay, so then we see him go into Dathomir. Huh?
Immediately knew that was Dathomir. Yep.
I thought we were going to see him come in to the planet, where you start from. I can't remember what it's called now. It starts with a P, I think. I thought they were going to see him
It's
come
not
in.
Peridia. Peridia is the planet they were on with the wolves and the turtles.
Right, it's the other one. Yeah. Anyway, I thought they were going to come in there where they originated and then see like a rebel fleet waiting for them because...
well, they probably did come in there and then just continue on to Dathomir from there.
Yeah, but they're like, hey, Thrawn is on his way. Like, cool. Where is he going to show up? Let's just put an entire fleet waiting for him. So when he shows up, we could just blast his ship to pieces and be done with this. No.
But no.
Thanks for the information. We're not going to do anything.
But there probably would be a direct route to Dathomir. That would make sense.
Sure.
It would. Yep. Well, Dathomir's probably got another one of those Stonehenge kind of locations on it, right?
I'm sure it has a lot of that.
It must. Yeah.
Yeah, another great shot where it like lines up perfectly and just beautiful stuff. They're all happy to be home to Dathomir.
Yeah, they are.
This shot.
And then we see that, right?
So last time we were counting, we were like, I think we counted 54 of these. Obviously, that was one of these.
Good. Yeah.
Someone did a quick count. It was just shy of 6,000.
Jesus. Do people not have anything else to do?
No, I think it was average. So you can easily count that one of those blocks is 60 just by math.
Yeah, then you just multiply it out.
Yeah, once you do that, you just times the,
And we don't really know how many it goes underneath this shot.
And this could be the first level. It could be
who knows.
More than this.
That's crazy.
But so this is going to be some kind of army for some brand.
Yeah, but what are they, right? What are they resurrecting?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So now we got Balin's ship coming into the rebels. Now he's being guided by two A-wings, so he must have already told them.
Sure, you don't fly up to a capital ship without communications.
So what's with the guarded, everybody armed thing?
Yeah.
Well, maybe they thought
someone comms and be like, "Hey,
yeah," but what if they didn't believe it and they thought maybe it was a trick? They weren't sure.
I guess. I don't know. I like that Chopper knew who it was just by the walk or whatever.
Yeah, he recognized the gate, I'm sure.
Comes in with the hands up. He's like, I know who this is.
I think that was the most Chopper spoke in an episode, was right here.
I couldn't tell what he was saying.
No, I couldn't either. I think it was like, is that you? Or I knew I see you again or something, but it wasn't clear as all the other times. It just wasn't as clear.
Now, this little moment where he said, "Hi, Hera," like
Yeah.
that so felt like Ezra.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm home.
It's like you can put the gun down now. We're all
Yeah.
smiling. The guy back there.
This last moment where she's looking out into the stars and stuff, and yeah,
and Sabine kind of feels it, right?
the shadow and the starlight.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a great way to end that season.
Yeah.
And his look too was like a little bit of smile, like pride, but also like I'm kind of worried about what's happening
Yeah.
for you in the
It's supposed
future.
to be foreboding for the next season.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very cool. You know what? One thing it would be fun to see is, and I don't think they'll do it because they're not giving a lot of the Mon Calamari and other groups like that a lot of face time, but it would be really cool if there was some kind of battle scene and Admiral Akbar was there and he's having to like match wits with Starship strategy against Thrawn, and he manages to, pull one over on Thrawn because he's Admiral Akbar.
Yeah.
He sets a
I
trap.
don't know. You'll only know if it's a trap. He's really good at that.
So
No, but it would be cool to have Admiral Akbar do something like that strategically.
neat. Of course. It would.
Unfortunately, they already wrote his ending, which was incredibly lame. But
But that's
otherwise,
later.
yeah. But you could have had an epic battle between the two where he loses.
Oh, well. No, I want him to win. I want him to show how cool Admiral Akbar is,
He could be cool and lose.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sacrifice.
I mean, I'm not saying I want Admiral Akbar to be the one who beats Thrawn and that to be the conclusion
That'd
of
be
the whole
weird.
thing. I just mean, I just mean like somewhere in the mix of all this, there's a battle going on and he gets a one up on him and Thrawn's like, what?
So there is a question. At some point, this blue guy's got to drop. So is it by hand? Is it somebody with a lightsaber? Does somebody shoot him?
Is he
Or
going down with his ship?
Is he going down with the ship? That seems most poetic.
That seems right for him.
Well, what do you think? What do you think Ahsoka? Let's play hypothetical here, okay? Ahsoka 2 gets greenlit. They're already in development. They're doing whatever they're doing. Okay, so Ahsoka 2's plot line is split between the first 4 episodes in this other planet of them trying to get back to the galaxy, but then we get little jump backs to the galaxy and Hera dealing with Thrawn being back, or is it episode 1 they find a way back? Or
I hope they'll jump around. Yeah.
Doesn't that seem more like you're diluting Ahsoka as a series? If it was Rebel season 6, great. We're following the Rebels. We're following. I don't mind that as much, right? When Kanan and Ezra and Bendu and all that stuff was happening, like, right, these are all side stories now. But this is like they labeled it Ahsoka, and now Ahsoka is in a different galaxy. Valen's on that planet. Shin is on that planet. Sabine's on that planet. And then all these fucking aliens that we have no idea what's going on, right? Whatever else.
What I'd prefer is 2 episodes. The first 2 episodes, like the first 1 episode, we start really finding out some deep stuff about Dalen and what's going on. And the second episode, stuff happens with it. And by the end of that second episode, they're zapped back to the regular Star Wars galaxy.
And then you got 6 episodes of how to.
Then the rest of it is dealing with Thrawn back in the Star Wars galaxy. That's what I hope.
I think what's going to happen is they're going to do a jump back and forth for, let's say it's 8 episodes again. So for 6 episodes, they're going to do that. Oh, and the reason why is because you need to see Thrawn thrash everybody.
Oh, so that you're going, oh no, Ahsoka's not back and he's taking over the galaxy.
And then he just crumbles like the first minute. You can't have that. He's got to devastate and just drive them
I don't
back,
see him doing as
the
much.
Empire and all this stuff. Like
They
start
can
all
do
the
that.
people coming together.
They can
Why?
do that with Ahsoka still there. Like Ahsoka can be in Galaxy and Thrawn just wreaking havoc across it.
Right.
And they're
but
having to
her
bring in
showing
lots
up-
of people, including Zeb and all them.
Right, but her showing up is the one thing he can't factor in.
But he also
He's
can't
gonna
factor
be-
in Luke at this point either.
But she could show up early, and then he doesn't know she's back for a long time,
Sure. It's a big galaxy.
and that she's been doing stuff.
Yeah,
But
then he'll factor all that stuff in.
Where do you?
No, he doesn't know she's been back this whole time.
Oh,
Right.
They could do that. But, I really hope they don't do that, because I want us to be back in the Star Wars galaxy having battles or strategies or events taking place. But another thing, too, is that I kind of doubt, you definitely want Thrawn to be big, you want him to do stuff, but I kind of doubt they're going to overshadow the First Order stuff that happens in the sequel trilogies. They're not going to make it like, oh, he's taken over the whole galaxy and the New Republic has fallen, and now we got to reestablish the New Republic again. Otherwise, somebody would have said something about that in the sequel trilogies.
He's going to, first of all, he's going to combine all of the, the Shadow Council or whatever. They're going to bring all their pieces together, and then they're going to do some kind of big attack that says Empire's back, bitches, and then establish control of something, because that's what they do.
They're going to be doing,
they're going to go to Coruscant. They got to attack Coruscant. They got to hold it and then start moving out. Like, otherwise, what's the point? Like,
they could attack some other core world, and if they're about to take Coruscant and they get stopped, that's the thing.
Coruscant. An Empire is all about symbology, and Coruscant is the seat of power to them. That's where.
Well, that's why you make it the jewel that he never actually gets, because in the end he's going to get defeated and all that.
Well, by episode 7, they've moved the capital around several times, and maybe this is part of the reason why. Is they're like, no, there's no more.
And technically, I think in this time period, Coruscant is already not the capital.
Well, yeah, we talked about that in the other episode. Like, when we come in on that Hera court-martialing thing, we don't know if that's Coruscant or not.
Yeah, but even if it is, you could have stuff still going on Coruscant without it being the capital. But I think it's supposed to be Chandrilla right now, if we go by the books. But another thing, too, is that, when you have him doing all this stuff, I hope kind of that what ends up happening is we get to see more detail about the story of how, eventually they'll probably defeat him, kill him, all that stuff, and then the rest of the Empire will then go, oop, and then slink off to the unknown regions where they hook, and it ends with them being on Exegol or hooking up with, Snoke or something like that. Yeah. So we get to see the arc connect into what will eventually be the First Order. It doesn't have to be a super solid connection, because you're still going to have 20 years before all that. But it's got to be enough of something that just sort of indicates, oh, we're out here now, and you get this little ta-da thing that kind of hints at, oh, it's the beginnings of the First Order or something like that.
Yeah. Interesting.
That's all pretty vague, but
it's going to have to be, because it's going to be loosely connected. It can't be so specific. We're not going to get it.
Yeah.
We're not going to get an origin story of Snoke coming from this other galaxy.
No, that's too much to try to fit into this. But the main thing, though, is that we're going to have to see some cool character arc for Ahsoka. That it's about her. It's her series, so it should be about her journey and what she goes through and what she comes to and what is learned through all this.
I would argue that there's not much more character arc for her to have to go through. Sabine's one with the Force. She used the Force thing to grab the lightsaber, like the culmination of your training, right? If you can.
Well, I think it's going to be that thing of I've got to reinvent myself to beat Thrawn because he thinks he knows who I am.
Right, but I think at this point they're just like, well, we're fucked. Might as well live on this planet. I don't know if they know how to even get back.
Well, the wild card is this stuff with Morai and the
Sure.
ones and all that. So
Sure.
that's going to be why none of this is predictable, because
Right.
whatever that is going to be a big part of
Right. I
integrating.
think that ends up being the world between worlds, because that's got to be the only way they get back from now. They don't have any of the things that they
That
can
makes
do.
sense.
And then she becomes the sister. Balin becomes the brother. They meet the father. Whatever it is, that's the story arc. Like, I don't think there's nothing else you can do with her.
It'd be interesting, though, if Balin ends up being some sort of ally in all this.
I could totally see Balin becoming the father, because he isn't dark side completely. He isn't light side completely.
Right.
And also their last fight, he was still dominating. He was like, you can't beat me. And she was like, I don't have to, and runs off and stuff. Because it was still like, okay, he's still more powerful and all. I could totally see him becoming the father.
Yeah, maybe. And then what does that mean? It means like, I'm not your ally, but I'm also not your enemy. But he still does something that's helpful to her, gets her back.
Well, remember the whole thing with the Force too, right? Is it always balances itself out. It's always finding a way to balance itself, regardless of who the main characters are, regardless of if it's a Skywalker story. The Force is always trying to balance itself out. So if it lost the sister, right, the beacon could be calling for him because they need him as part of the thing. Whether that's the brother, and I agree with Chris. I don't think that's the dark side. I think he's more of the father character. So maybe it's just trying to rebalance itself with everything that's been going on, because coming off of the movies, you have, dark, if you're looking at the scales, like the dark side's here, like, so maybe it's just trying to rebalance itself, and that's the beacon that he's been following, or that's the calling he's had, because he's right in the middle. I don't know if Shin is the brother, though. I don't know because she seems, if she's in the training of Balin, then she's also in the middle. But she does look like she's fucking evil as fuck. So maybe she does go. I mean, I don't know. Also,
Well, it's not going to be Sabine.
It can't. It can't be Sabine. And there's no one else on the planet that we know of right now that would fill that role. But I think it was really telling that not only did we see Morai, but we also saw that those statues, and like you said, there's that separation and no head on the sister. And the sister gave their life force to Ahsoka. So
it all makes perfect sense. It's just, what is this really going to mean in literal terms? There's so much symbolism and everything, but what's technically going to happen? Physically, that's going to be the interesting thing to see in all this.
But it all is as the Force wills it, right? So like the fact that Sabine and Ahsoka got stuck on the planet, the Force made that happen because they need Ahsoka to fill a role. And then that would be her character's journey. Like, she did all the things, she did what she can. And then,
well, that may be that Chris is right then, after all. Christian is that you what you said about 6 episodes of being on that planet doing all this stuff. But I don't know. I just don't see that they have that much to do.
No, Chris said it wasn't 6 episodes on one planet. Chris said it was going to be 6 episodes of back and forth.
Well, back and forth, but I'm talking about where Ahsoka is physically throughout those episodes. Sure. But I don't know. Maybe it'd be somewhere in the middle. But I would think 2 to 3 episodes
on that planet.
Yeah, that's my guess.
Do you think we see any more of the galaxy?
Huh?
Do you think we see any more of that galaxy?
Probably not.
So Ahsoka's
not. Because then you start setting up all this whole big lore and story of the other galaxy, and I don't think that was the intention here, really.
So you're saying we're not going to see Ahsoka just end up in Times Square at all?
No.
All right.
It'd be Toronto.
Hopefully not. They're going to be going around. Oh, I know what they're going to do when they get to the beam of light or whatever. They're going to get there, and it's going to be the Statue of Liberty buried in the sand, and they've been on Earth the whole time.
Oh, how brutal! Rage quit.
Rage quit.
Unsubscribe.
No,
I really doubt it. Hopefully not, but.
I mean, it's safe to say whatever it is. Like I, for what my vote is worth, they should just give all the passwords, all the emails, all the accounts to Dave Filoni and just walk away.
Yeah.
Let him do what he's doing, because it's just brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, I love the season as a whole. I'm really happy that there's going to be another one. Has to be. Yeah. They're
Mhm.
working on it.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I just don't know what it's going to be like. We're gonna. I would hope that we see Ezra reunite with Zeb because like now they're back together. So then you.
I know. How did we
Definitely
not
got to see some Zeb in season 2. Come on, definitely.
How it would have been so easy to put Zeb with Hera whenever they should. We know he's
At
still
the
in
end
the
there,
alliance.
yeah, he could have been
He's there.
standing right there in the bay.
He takes off his helmet and says, "Hi Hera, hi Zeb, I'm home."
Yeah.
And you see Zeb. You could even back away and see Zeb walk up and put his hand on his shoulder. That's all you needed.
No,
don't know why they didn't do
That
that.
scene ends with Zeb saying Zarabash or whatever that fuck word is in his language.
Carabash.
And then it just blacks out and we go over to the other like that. would've been-
Carabast, yeah.
Oh,
Carabast,
that would've been
yeah.
great. Yeah. I still want Hondo.
Yeah.
I got Ezra.
Yeah, I know.
Ezra with the lightsaber was great.
Yeah.
For being a badass. We got Morai. Still want Hondo.
I
Well-
want Hondo to have his own show. How about that?
Oh god, it'd be so
I really think Hondo would probably be cooler in like Mandalorian.
Yeah.
That kind of a setting to have a pirate in there.
That would be
you
pretty
gave
cool.
us Cad Bane, like that was badass, right? So
Mhm.
how maybe in the movie, maybe in that Mando universe movie or whatever they're gonna do.
See, that's another thing too, is that part of this whole thing could be saved for that movie.
Sure.
So it could be that this whole big arc we talked about going with the, and then they end up with in the Western reaches and unknown regions, and
Yeah. Who
maybe
else
even
would be the
Thrawn's
big bad?
demise doesn't even happen in this series. Maybe that happens in the
Yeah. Who else would be the
Yeah.
big bad but Thrawn, right? You
we
gotta.
were not
Right.
even see Thrawn in season 2.
Oh,
Like,
I doubt that.
You see it? Well, it's Ahsoka
No,
series.
you'll
And
see
Ahsoka's on a different planet. It's
I
not the
know.
Thrawn series.
But there's too much, like, there's a certain amount of like mystery, but then after it's too much, it's like
Well, also, yeah, they got to show us what they're doing with all the Night Sisters stuff and those crates.
Oh.
Ezra's.
we
back.
definitely
That's
need to
gotta
see
be a
more
thing.
of that. What's
Yeah,
going on?
they're going to do a bunch of stuff.
But that could be the movie. Season 2 of Ahsoka could be Ahsoka's journey to the beacon with Balin and fighting Shin and doing all of that stuff. And then maybe
too
there's
slow.
a little bit of like, because how are they going to know what's happening in our galaxy? They have no idea what's happening in the main galaxy because they have no connection to it.
Well, they don't need to know.
Them
Just
on the
like we
planet.
saw at the end of this show, they bounce
Sure.
back and forth. Yeah.
Sure. But it could work. But we had Ezra, right? We had Ezra, so we followed Ezra to the other thing. So, like, that's a thing now. But if it's the Ahsoka series, it could just be on the planet. And then they're leading to the movie, which is Thrawn's taken over.
It all kind of depends on the big arc that they're planning, which hopefully they are planning it in that way.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they tie in the First Order and all the sequels to what's coming, because they're not far off. Like, timeline, they're not far off.
Well, I know that Dave Filoni also did a great job in the animated Resistance series. That series isn't my favorite animated series. I wasn't crazy about it. But one thing that it did do really good was fill in a lot of little details and gaps of the world building that made it improved the sequels
Right.
greatly.
Actually,
because
ended
it
up
added
really
a lot
liking
of
that series because of season 2. But yeah.
yeah, it filled in a lot of cool details leading up to those events.
Sure.
And so I think he's going to do more of that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, that wraps up the Ahsoka series review, at least for this season. We'll be back. We don't have a next episode planned yet, but we'll probably
Stay
cover
tuned.
a few things. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to
Hit
be
the
looking at
bell.
all kinds of stuff.
Hit the
All you
bell, hit the likes.
In all that time that you don't have, all you need to do is take our 8 episodes and cut it down to one movie.
Right. Right. All that time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'll get on that.
Mhm.
All right,
You know,
everybody. Well,
yeah,
Thanks
let
for
us know in the comments too if you have suggestions on things you'd like us to review.
oh yeah.
Interesting
Yeah.
to hear.
Also, you can
We could do
comment
movies too.
You can comment on where I'm wrong with all my theories of.
Definitely do that.
I'm going to wait till after it's all over to tell you.
Perfect.
Where you were off.
Perfect. Well done.
All right. Well, thanks everybody.
See you.